I was told many times before that there is a special type of racism up in the North. See, in the South, people who are that way, they'll be upfront with you, in which I appreciate that actually. But in the North, they try to hide it a little bit, but they have the same venom and vitriol toward black people. So this particular story out of Kansas City, it was Kansas City, Missouri. Want to make sure we put that out there. They had voted to scrub Martin Luther King Jr.'s name for one of the city's most historic streets. Now, Martin Luther King, the guy they said that black people, you need to pattern your life after Dr. King. He was such a great man and peaceful man, but yet they voted to take his name off of a street. Why would that bother you so much that Dr. King's name is on the street? Is that harming your family? Is that stopping you from doing your life? Is it taking your job away? What is it? No, but we'll hear what they want to do that for. So they say the decision comes less than a year after the city council voted to rename the Paseo, okay? A 10-mile boulevard running through, listen to this, a predominantly black area of the city. So the Martin Luther King Street wasn't going through any other area that's not black. This is going through the black area, and they didn't even want Dr. King to even have a street in a black area. I guess that changed how they feel about Dr. King, right? And we know black folks didn't go vote for that. Now, let's say the proposal to remove Dr. King's name received about 70% of the vote, while just 30% of the vote to retain his name, according to the unofficial results. Now, they say the debate of the name change has been a divisive one, with one side accusing the other of racism. So supporters of Dr. King's name celebrated with a year-long push to honor the Atlanta pastor earlier this year. Their rejoicing was short-lived, however, as a group of residents intent on keeping the Paseo began collecting names and wanted it put on the ballot, in which they had their goal achieved. Okay, so they had a woman by the name of Diane Eston, if I'm saying it right. She was the leader of Save the Paseo. Save the Paseo, a street that these people, like I said, it gets worse, ladies and gentlemen, because they said it would just mean something to everyone if you keep it as the Paseo, right? Through a black area. These areas that these folks don't even go to. They're not fancy in the black area like that, but they just want to take Dr. King's name off. Just like a lot of them don't want Dr. King to have a holiday. A lot of them hate Dr. King is even mentioned. When Dr. King was alive, they couldn't stand Dr. King. I've talked about that before. Now, they said tensions, listen to what these folks did. Tensions came to a head last Sunday when members of the Save the Paseo group staged a silent protest at a Get Out the Vote rally at a black church for supporters of the King's name. They say the demonstrators stood silently lining the walls of the church as parishioners objected to their presence, calling their protest disrespectful. So listen to me. These people walked into a black church, lined themselves up in the church and just stood against the wall. That is bold. That is number one, bold. And listen, we already know what that is. That is racial intimidation and white supremacy. Well, look, we're going to go in their church and we're going to stand there and look at them. Now, where's all that smoke that black folks have for each other? But see, when them folks go stand in your church and dare you to do something, you think you can go in there in their church and just stand there against the wall silently, don't say nothing? What happened to trespassing? Because they was trespassing at that point. You wasn't asked to be there, but they did that to them. And for y'all to sit there and let them do that, that says a lot. This is why a lot of black folks don't want to be a part of these churches. Ain't no way they came in my building and just stood there like, hey, man, you need to go. And if you're not going to go, you're going to be put out because this is my building. You don't come in here to line yourself. You can go outside on a public street all day long, do your thing, but you're not going to come in here doing that mess. But these folks are bold. Of course, the supporters of Dr. King said that they were racist, and they say the campaign is backed by mostly white residents who don't live on the street located on Kansas City's mostly black east side. So All the folks that wanted change was racist. Okay, all of them were. And they wanted to go intimidate black folks in their church. And they got what they wanted. Now, the city council wanted that, but the racists that live in that town didn't. Now, they say many have spoken on the impact of a sign bearing Dr. King's name had in their community's children. They say, I think that only if a black child growing up in the inner city lacking the kind of resources, lacking the kind of images and models for mentoring, modeling, vacationing, and career, can you understand what that name on the sign could mean to a child in this community? Okay. They said, meanwhile, those from the Say the Paseo group say city leaders sided with King supporters and approved the name change without following proper procedure, thus ignoring the Paseo's history completed in 1899. It became one of the city's first boulevards that listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Okay, so all they gathered was about 2,800 signatures in an effort to reverse the council's decision. When I tell you things like have an Africa plan, when I tell you things like white supremacy and racism don't change. It's a new flavor of folks, but it don't change. They don't want black people to even have a name. Dr. King been dead for a long time and don't even want him to have a name on the street. Don't want it. That's hateful. You go in there and intimidate people in their church. You were intimidating. That's what you were doing. You was intimidating them because you know the psychology of most black folks is afraid of you. So they say, let's go in their church and just stand there. I mean, think about the arrogance of that. We're going to go stand in their church against the wall and just look at them. You get what I'm saying? But of course they would go into church and do that. They're not going to go to the brothers and sisters that are going to deal with them when they do something like that. No, they pick the right ones. Trust me, they pick the right ones. They know when their church is docile. You're not going to say nothing. You're going to let it go on. You're going to be intimidated. That's why a lot of black people, especially in this generation, don't want nothing to do with the black church. We want nothing to do with something docile like that. Because they couldn't come in my church like that if I was a pastor. They'd been out of there. I say, ushers, they need to go. Get them all out. They need to go through the same door. But you're supposed to have security at your church anyway. They shouldn't be able to even do that. You're supposed to have security. Because ever since all these church shootings or whatever, y'all still don't have security at your churches. You saw what happened with Dylan Roof and you still don't have security at your churches. I mean, that could have been another situation like Dylan Roof. That's what they wanted to do. And nothing y'all could have done about it. Take security seriously, folks. But the name was changed out there. And even when I was in St. Louis, man, I'm telling you, the racism was thick in St. Louis. I feel, the racism not as thick in the South. I'm telling you, the hate that you feel around there. And then some of them police is running around there. Y'all talk about Texas. Oh, I want to be in Texas. No, I want to be around St. Louis and all those areas. Trust me. I know I'm telling you. I talked to so many black people when I was up there. When I did the interview with Melissa McKinnis, and they were like, man, I got to get out of here. They were telling me all kind of things that be going on up there. So this doesn't surprise me at all. But, and they tell you they love Dr. King. I guess this proves they don't, right? But leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about this particular story coming out of Kansas City, Missouri, and how these folks is winning that black church and just intimidating them. That I tell you what, black folks, you got to stop being so timid. You have to stop being so timid because they try you because they know you're not going to do anything. I mean, you had a right to kick them out. You had a right to file trespassing charges. You had a right to do all that, and you did not do it. That's why they were so bold walking inside your church.